Similar to teams we play in this league, we'll spread, we'll play fast on offense. Quarterback's a good player. He's mobile. He can throw it. He can run it. I think he's a second lead rusher on their team. I hadn't looked at all their offensive stats as much as I have the defensive. Very good defensive front, team speed. A lot like when we played them, whatever year that was when Zach Robinson was here. I don't remember what year. They're very similar to that. Good up front. They have depth, can run. Number 3 can tackle and hit. So it's going to be a good matchup. We'll certainly have to have good practices, and just like every other game, we're going to try to find a way to manage 125, 150 yards rushing somehow to try to balance out our offensive attack. Obviously, Mason is in a boot, should be able to practice we'll see. We're going to try to get him to practice 23, 21, and 20, however far that is. So for now, we're going to leave him in the boot. Obviously, JW's to getting those reps. Everybody else is healthy. 47 will be back. 44 will be back. I don't know who else. I think that's it. So we've had a couple meetings. We're all excited about up and running, beautiful weather, and it's good to get back out here. We're off the road recruiting, so we got that part of it out of the way and ready to roll.
Hugh Freeze is a guy who started out being a high school coach, even coached girls basketball. Can you appreciate a guy who's really had to climb the ranks to go up there, and what do you know about him?
Well, he's done a good job, and they've made some national headlines over the last few years with some recruiting, and I think they work at it. Jason Jones is there. Laquan Treadwell, the guys we're somewhat familiar with. He's done a nice job there and has made a home for himself, and has had a number of years where he's been successful, and it's not easy to do, so they've done a good job there.
Yeah, I don't know what tapes you've watched. I watched Memphis, and I was a little bit surprised. Memphis had some success tempoing them, and you wouldn't think that would be the case. They'd see tempo out of their own offense.
Memphis quarterback is, I think, is really good.
Yeah.
And in that game, I wanted to see more scheme production than I did a quarterback that made some really good plays. I think they had a good plan, but I saw a quarterback that's really skilled that made some good throws. I saw 3 terrific catches by the receivers, and they made some good plays on that side of the ball. But they tempo some also, without giving away any big secrets. I don't know that you're going to get much of an advantage tempo on them because they see that anyway. Maybe not as much this year as what they have seen, so it's in their system. So most of us at tempo practice in some sort of a tempo fashion, so I don't know what kind of an advantage that will give our team.
Mike, your defense played so many snaps the last month of the season. How much do you feel like the rest is going to get them ready for this?
Well, in the meeting I had with them Thursday night, I told them they should be rested up. And when we went back and reviewed it, when I sat in with the offense for 4 hours yesterday, and we were fatigued at times, but there was times we didn't play very well. Whenever you have a time to go back and look, it wasn't all fatigue. We've got to do a better job of fitting ourselves in gaps. And that's the truth of where we were at, that we weren't as good as we needed to be in the last couple games. They made plays. The back at Baylor made some plays. The 2 backs at OU are good players. We bounced off them some, but there was also times that we weren't in our gaps, and we need to get our tail in our gaps and play better on that side of the ball.
Two-phase question. One, the more motivated team seems to win a lot of times in bowl season. Second thing is, I didn't realize until looking down your roster, you got a lot of Katrina victims that migrated this way and are going home. That to me would seem like it's a little motivation.
Well, there's no question that teams that want to be in a bowl generally play better. If we knew the formula for that, we would try to bottle it up and sell it. But there's no reason for these guys to not be motivated. They're playing in a New Year's Day bowl. They're playing in the Sugar Bowl. It used to be a BCS bowl. However big it wants to get, other than the championship, it's as big as it gets. So I don't think there's any excuse for these guys nor the coaches to not be excited about playing in this game. And we have an upscale practice schedule. We have a couple more practices than we have had on a traditional bowl schedule for us, based on having the extra week. We were able to accomplish some recruiting last week, and so now we're back to practice. And we're going to practice hard here in Stillwater particularly, and we'll have a couple practices there. but we're going to get after it here and try to get ready to play our best game.
How beneficial are these practices when you get into a bowl for the program, especially when it's not, you don't have any class going on, anything like that, so they can just focus in on getting better?
Sure, they're like we are. When you can take a big part of their day and say it's over with, school, we all remember what it's like. I just saw a couple young people walking across the campus, and they said, "Hey, good luck in the Sugar Bowl." And I said, "Are you done with their finals?" And they said, "Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to Joe's." So that's you remember those days. So that part of their life is over with. So we have a good schedule for them. We have their lifts, we have their breakfast, their food, we have their meeting schedules, the practices, and we have some activities for them. So they should be able to focus on getting prepared for this game for the next 12 days.
Mike,
Mike,
let's see.
Go ahead, Jackie. Go ahead.
Go.
You guys, SEC Big 12 had the Cotton Bowl for 15 seasons. Ever how long SEC dominated the last 10 or 12 years of it. Now you've moved to the Sugar Bowl. How's a conference sort of turn that tide?
We need to play well for the conference, and you guys know we try to play well every game. It's important to us, but I don't think there's any question. We hear about it some, and we read about the importance of conference matchups in postseason and preseason games, and I think there's some truth to that. I don't think there's any question that we need to play well, and that's when I had mentioned about where we were defensively and then offensively. My challenge to these guys, selfishly, is we need to find a way to play better against the run like we did in the middle of the year. And then we need to be able to rush the ball some. Now, we're not all of a sudden going to rush for 250 yards, but we need to play exceptionally well in those two areas to give us a chance to represent our conference in the Sugar Bowl.
This big Cotton Bowl, of course, Big 12 backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to the SEC backyard.
Sure.
Is that any kind of disadvantage playing down there?
That bowl is going to be loud. Obviously my brother's been there, and I've visited with him about it, and we've got coaches that have been there. And they get, I'm probably wrong on this, but the ticket allotment is $15,000, I think. And then there'll be a number of fans that had already tried to buy their tickets through OSU prior to us even selling our allotment, and I'm sure it'll be the same way. So I don't feel like it'll be so much that it would be a disadvantage, but we should have enough orange there to represent Oklahoma State and somewhat equal the stadium and the noise.
Mike, it probably didn't surprise you at all that the team came for Robbie Disher for a full-time job. What's your plan? Do you have a plan for special teams and who's going to kind of handle those going?
Well, you're looking at him right now, so which is fine. I enjoy that. Robbie and I work together. He obviously was the leader, and he let me fill in some. Robbie's very intelligent, and it's funny. I got a message last night. Coach, I took the job and I'm not coming back. Well, I thought he'd at least come back and help me a little bit, and so he dumped it all on me. But you know how it is. You get a chance to make some money and get started in this profession. He's a full-time guy, and he's going to coach a position and also run their special teams. And so I called him early this morning, and I had a few questions before I tried to jump into Ole Miss's special teams part. And he said that he had, about 10 minutes he could talk to me. Then he had to put his own punt team in this afternoon for their bowl practice. And I said, really, now I only get 10 minutes? That's all I get? He said, Coach, I got a full-paying job up here. I said, I understand. So I was happy for Robbie. And so we'll manage. We'll get going. And those guys usually take care of themselves. But that'll be kind of a fun project for me during bowl week.
Mike, Kyle asked you about Hugh Freeze's high school to college road, and sort of makes me think about the fact that you're in a growing fraternity of guys that played Oklahoma high school football that are now college coaches, Fuente, Barry Odom, that group. What is it to you to see those guys get jobs?
I think what we're finding out over the last few years, we've in our research that we've done in recruiting and athletes and players that have performed at a high level, that Oklahoma's somewhat overlooked in the talent that's come out of here in the last 8 to 10 years. And then even prior to that, you're seeing a lot of coaches that have come out of these ranks. Certainly Texas gets a lot of notoriety because of the total numbers, but there's some quality people that have come out of here and have done very well, obviously with Barry, and then Fuente's doing terrific. And there's a number of other guys, if you just look around, that have come from here that are doing very well. So I think all of us that have been here a number of years should be proud of those guys and what strides that they've made.
Even when you're happy, when your guys get something bigger and better, aren't you relieved at some level that you don't have a situation with your offensive coordinator in terms of bowl prep and having to
Yeah,
go
I don't
through all
want to
that?
step on that ledge and too fast because, they can come get them at any time. But I want those guys to become head coaches. I want guys to leave our staff and be coordinators. But it's a pain in the rear for us to try to change the formula and make it happen. So I agree with what you're saying. And if it ever happened, you'd want it to happen after the bowl, but it never does because everybody wants a coach and they want him right now.
So you want him to get a head coach job, just not right now.
Yeah, I'd rather it be in January. But it is what it is. Guys got to do whatever they think's best for their family, and we've got 2 or 3 guys that are involved in some situations right now, but that's not unusual for this time of the year.
You brought up Michael Hunter. He came here for the opportunity to play in the bowl game, and sure enough, he gets it. I mean, how is it just gratifying knowing that you probably pitched that to him coming here, and sure enough, here it is.
We've been very lucky. We've talked about it. You guys have written about it. That we've had quality young men that have come in here and bought into our program, and Patman was huge for us, and Furman was huge for us, and so was Michael this year. He won one of the awards at our banquet for one of the players that I don't know how they title it, but a guy that you don't hear a lot about at times, but we need him in our program because of what he does on special teams and defense.
Even you mentioned Mason a little bit ago, but is he today, Mike, like exactly where you would expect at this point in his recovery, or is maybe a little ahead?
You don't know. He's in a boot, and anytime you have a foot injury, the injury he had, or a turned ankle, or a high ankle, or all those different injuries, they put him in a boot. They pull him out at a certain time, and then they do their testing. So they will pull him out 23, 21, 20. They're supposed to pull him out on 16 or 17, and then they'll start him in his movement, and then we should have him for 3 practices before we leave. I'm no doctor by any means, but if he's moving around and can go through some of his aerobic activities, then with the style of play that he gives us, he should be able to practice. And once they're gone for 3 days for Christmas and then they meet us at the bowl site, it should progressively improve each day. Mm-hmm. But I think anybody that says that they know, they're just throwing something out there, because until he gets out of the boot, it's just like when Blackman had the ankle and he wore the boot up until 2 or 3 days before the game, and he took it off and played. And then sometimes guys take the boot off and they can't play. It's just hard to predict.
Right. McCleskey, what would you like about him? And somebody could play this quick.
What's funny is I'd like to say that I did a lot of research on him, but Casey Dunn sold me on McCleskey, and he wasn't going to come in until the spring. I don't know if y'all knew that. He was originally going to come in as a January guy because we were full, and we had something happen in recruiting, so we slotted him in. But he originally wasn't coming into January because he wasn't that hot on board.
What was he going to do?
Come in January.
I mean, what was he going to do?
He was just going to come in late, a semester like gray shirt.
I mean, what was he going to do though?
I never asked him that. I'm not sure what that was. That's a good question. I don't know what he was going to do. He maybe was just going to work out and come in later, but he was going to come in as a gray shirt because we were full with our numbers at that time, and we lost somebody, Ronald Jones or somebody, I don't know who it is. We lost somebody, so we slotted him in.
They say that his dad was one of the all-time great work ethic guys. Is he that way?
Yes, he has tremendous work ethic. Hardly ever says anything, and he's developed and proven and showing signs of toughness. We don't ever hear him talk at all, but he's got really good work habits.
Well, he shows signs every week. He gets blown up every week.
Yeah, I know. His coach was Johnny Majors, his dad's coach. And when I was at Iowa State, Johnny Majors said that he wanted to visit with me, so I went over there pregame, and 30 minutes later, after he was finished talking to me, he was giving me an example of what his dad was like, and it sounds exactly like his son, Jalen.